Hello everyone, my name is Shafi. Today in this class we are going to discuss about collaboration deployment model or CUCM deployment model. Actually it's a collaboration, but in generally we can also call it a CUCM deployment model, and it's a chapter 2. Let's see what chapter objectives we have. Okay, the first we have the overview of the deployment model. So what is this deployment model and why we require this deployment model? That's what we are going to be discussing in this overview. Next, on-premises deployment, cloud deployment, and hybrid deployment. Actually, in the deployment, we have three types of deployment: on-premises, cloud, and hybrid. Okay, so what exactly all this thing, but we are going to be concentrate on premises deployment. Okay, we are not focusing on the cloud or the hybrid. Again, for the cloud and hybrid, we have a separate courses. Okay, we have a separate courses that comes under the specialization. Okay, later if you want to be learn that one, you can learn that specialization courses, both cloud and hybrid deployment model. Okay, so what exactly this deployment model, why we require this deployment model? Any idea? Deployment means what? Deployment means something like you're installing the servers. Okay, how many
Like a
servers?
implementation.
Yeah, implementing the infrastructure. Okay, so how many servers you require, which server where you want to be placed, and why you have to place that server. That is what the deployment. For an example, we have where we are going to register the IP phone, CUCM, right? We have the CUCM server. Now you take any organization, they'll be having the multiple branch offices. Yes or no? They'll be having the multiple branch office. Example, we have one headquarter. This is the headquarter, consider. Then I'm having some branch office. Branch office 1, then branch office 2. This is how I'm having. Or also we are having some partners. Okay, business partners. Uh, uh, Business partners, we have this one. So now here I want to be install some IP phones, right? Similarly, in the branch office also we require the IP phones. You take any branch office, every branch office we require the IP phones. Okay. Then even the business partners also we have some IP phones. This one. Now, when you have the IP phones, you take any location, every location you have the IP phones. When you have every location, there is an IP phone, then we require the CUCM, because IP phones, it's going to be registered under the CUCM. Now, where you can be install or place that CUCM? Headquarter. Okay, you are placing the CUCM in headquarter. Okay. Then what about this branch office IP phones? How they can register? See, these are the IP phones which is exist in the headquarter. These phones can be registered in the headquarter. We have the CUCM. It can be registered under the headquarter. What about the branch office phones? In the branch office 1 also we have the IP phone. Branch office 2 also we have the IP phones. Okay. Even we want to make a call there also. But how that phones can be registered and where that phones can be registered? It's a depend. That is called business requirement. This is called business requirement. According to what business you have, how many locations you have, in that location, whether you want to be placed the IP phones or not, okay, and how many IP phones you want to be placed based on your requirement, the business requirement, you can be designed in your network. Okay, whether you can place the CUCM in the headquarter or whether you can place the CUCM in the branch office itself. Okay, if you want to place the CUCM in the branch office also, you can place. Now, this branch office IP phone can be registered here itself locally. Okay, but the branch office phone, one phone, we have the phones that registered under the headquarter. However you want, you can be deployed. That is what you'll be will be discussing under the deployment model here, this one. This one. Yeah, if you want to be place the CUCM server in the branch office also, it can be placed. That's what. Again, it's about your requirement. Okay. How exactly requirement means? For an example, you take any CUCM server. Okay. Every hardware or software. CUCM server means what? Both, it's a combination. Hardware and software, you have this one. You take any hardware software, there is a limitation. So maximum we can register, okay, 10,000 IP phones in one single CUCM server. Later, I'm not explaining in detail about CUCM cluster. In the next chapter, that's the chapter 3, there we are going to discuss about what is CUCM, what its hardware, what its software, okay, what is cluster, okay, how many types of clusters we have, that will be discussed. Okay. Now understand, in one single CUCM server, maximum how many IP phones we can be registered? 10,000 IP phone we can be registered. Suppose in your organization, more than 10,000 users are there, then you require another CUCM server, right? So when you're installing another CUCM server, okay, I'm installing another CUCM server. Then what you can do this one, 20,000 IP phones we can be registered now. Suppose if you have more than 20,000 users, let's install another CUCM server, 30,000. If you have more than 30,000, install another one, 40,000. If you have more than 40,000 users, another. Okay. Yeah. So we have a concept of CUCM cluster. CUCM cluster. In general, cluster means what? Combining, grouping. A group of CUCM server is a cluster. That's the next chapter. Again, I'm not explaining anything this one. Okay. We have a concept of CUCM cluster. In a single cluster, maximum we can install 40,000 phones. In one single CUCM server, how many IP phones we can be registered? 40,000 in a cluster. In a one single CUCM, how many IP phones we can be registered? 10,000. This is the difference. Single CUCM, maximum 10,000 IP phone we can be registered. In a cluster, 40,000 IP phones we can be registered. Suppose you have more than 40,000 users, then you have to install or configure another cluster. 2 clusters. CUCM only the cluster. That's we'll discuss later. That's what I'm not explaining you about the cluster concept here. This one, just understand 10,000 and 40,000 here. This one, okay. Individual one single server, 10,000 IP phones we can be registered. In a cluster, maximum 40,000 IP phone. In a cluster, how many servers we get it? What is the use of that server? That will be discussed in the next chapter. Now don't worry about that one. Now don't concentrate on about the cluster here. This one, 10,000, 40,000 you. Now, in my organization, more than 40,000 users are there. So in that scenario, what we have to do, we have to configure another cluster. In one cluster, maximum 40,000. Then if you have more than 40,000 user, another cluster you have to be configured. Yes, it will be a CUCM only. I'm not telling 4. That's what. Don't go with the how many servers are there in the cluster. Okay, that will be discussed later, that one. You just understand 10,000, 40,000. Individual server 10,000, in a cluster 40,000, that one. I'm not telling only 4 servers, but actually 20 servers you can place in a cluster. So that is what I'm not explaining now here about the cluster here, this one. Suppose if your requirement is 60,000 users are there, then you have to go obviously 2 clusters. Why? Because in one single cluster, it's not possible to register 60,000 IP phones. Maximum we can be register 40,000 IP phones. So another 20,000 IP phones, you can configure another CUCM cluster. This is how we are going to be configure. So now For an example, this is how deployment. Now, generally what happen, now you have a business, you have the offices globally. You have business in US also, you have business in UK also, you have business in Asia also. In that scenario, what every organization they do, they configure separate cluster to US, separate cluster to UK, separate cluster to Asia. Even if you don't have the 30, 40,000, you have only 5,000 users. You have only 5,000 or you have only 2,000 users. Still they go with the different clusters. Yes. Still they go with the, that is the maximum capacity I'm talking about, 40,000, 10,000. But generally, even if you have 2,000 users or 3,000 users or 5,000 users or 10,000 users, they go with a different cluster. US, they build completely different cluster. UK, they build different cluster. For Asia, APAC, they build different cluster. This is how in every organization they design the network. Now, for an example, so how many clusters? If three are clusters they have, one for US, one for UK, one for Asia, APAC. This is how the cluster will be configured. Why they have to be configured? Because of the scalability. Scalability means what? You want to be install more devices. Okay, that is the one reason why we require the deployment. Another reason why we require the deployment here, okay, availability or high availability. For an example, I have only one server. My IP phones are registered here. If this server goes down, another server is required as a backup. That is the one thing. Next, for example, headquarter it's in Bangalore, BLR. My branch office it's in Singapore. Okay, headquarter it's in Bangalore, branch office in Singapore here. This one or another branch office we have in Spain. You can take it Barcelona. Barcelona, that's in Spain. We have this one. Now, Bangalore to Singapore, we have very less distance. What we can do this one, the branch office phone also can be registered under the headquarter. How it will be registered? Through the internet. Anyhow, we have internet, right? Through the internet, what happened this one? See, here also we have the IP phone. This IP phone is registered under this CUCM. The branch office IP phone also registered under the CUCM. Always they communicate over the internet. Here it will be connect locally. Here it will connect locally, but here it will connect over the WAN. Okay, but both the phones are registered locally, CUCM. CUCM understand that one. Even the Singapore office phones, Bangalore office phones, the CUCM it's placed in Bangalore. Both the phones are registered under me, but physically you can place anywhere. Logically, both the phones are registered here, right? But physically you can place anywhere. Okay, so I'm not looking for the physically here, this one. So this is how, if you want to be deploy, you can deploy this one thing. Now Spain also we have the one office. Bangalore is the headquarter, but connecting from Spain to the headquarter, again we have the internet. The Spain IP phones also can be registered under the headquarter. But what happened this one, it takes some delay, right? Why? Because we have more distance here. It takes some delay, round trip delay it will take. So that's the reason what we are doing this one. In the Spain, we are installing one separate server so that these phones can be registered locally there itself. These phones can be registered locally there itself, that one. That is also a deployment. This because it's my requirement, because connecting from Spain to Bangalore, very long distance we have, more delay it takes. When it is taking the delay, we get voice quality issues. Okay, whenever you are communicating, there is a chance of voice quality issues. So that's the reason what we are doing. Okay, we are installing one server locally in the Spain office itself, and all the Spain phones can be registered in the local server. That is also an option we have this one. That is also a deployment model here, this one. Okay, next, the business partners we have. Business partner, they have a separate servers. You can communicate from the CUCM to the business partner also. Or I have a cluster in US, I have a cluster in UK. Now I want to communicate between the US to UK. You can communicate. So completely in US, how many offices are there? For an example, Boston is my headquarter. Chicago, I have an offices. Madison, I'm having offices. New York, I'm having offices. All these offices, phones registered under Boston. Okay. Now coming to the UK, Sweden, for an example, Sweden is my headquarter. Okay. Now Germany, we have the offices. Israel, we have the offices. Spain, we have the offices. All these locations, phones registered under the Sweden. Now I want to communicate from this Sweden to Boston here. You can communicate this one. Not only Boston to Sweden, this all the location from the US to all the location to the UK, still you can communicate this one. That's also a deployment. This is how. What is this deployment means according to your requirement. How many IP phones, how many end users you have, how you want to scale, what is the availability you have this one, or how you want to manage that network. Administration is required, right? You have to manage. Is it possible the single user to be manage all the complete network? No, right? For an example, if you talk about my company, in my company, we have 3 engineers. There is one engineer in US. So he'll be looking the entire US region. There is one user is in UK. Okay, he'll be looking the entire UK region. So there is one user in Bangalore. Okay, I will look the entire Asia. Okay, whatever the anything which is related to Asia configuration troubleshooting, I'm the responsible that one. That's how for the administration purpose also we are going to be design the network. That is the deployment model. So here deployment model means yesterday we have discussed about some components, some products like call manager, Unity connection, IMP server, expressway server, like this one. All these components it involves in this one. So, but now we focus only on the call manager here. Okay, because the clustering concept of Unity connection, IMP, we have a different concept. Okay, because if you talk about the Unity connection cluster, only 2 servers comes in that. IMP server, only 2 servers comes. Okay. Then contact center, if you talk UCCX, 2 servers comes. But in a CUCM 20 server, 21 servers will be getting. So that's the reason here. You just concentrate only on the call manager here. Okay. With respect to the call manager, we are going to be discuss about the deployment model here in this one. Clear? Got it? What is this deployment model? The overview, you got it or not? You have any questions in between, you can raise the hand, you can ask. Okay. Cisco Unified Communication Deployment demonstrate a variety of the business application based on the following criteria, right? Following criteria means based on the requirement, the organization requirement, company requirement, customer requirement, they are going to be design their network. Okay. End-to-end IP communication requirement. End-to-end IP communication means I have headquarter also IP phones, branch office also IP phones. If you want, based on that, you can design. Okay. Next, interoperability between the sites. You have multiple sites. You want to be in communicate between that site. Multiple site means Bangalore, Singapore. Okay. Next, administrative requirements, centralized or distributed. How you want to be manage these networks. Okay. Next, availability requirement. Availability base. Okay. Suppose if one server goes down, another server should be there as a backup. Next, mobility requirement. Okay, mobility requirement. Now, many of the users, they are working from the home. Remote users. For the remote users, how we want to be design the network. Next, scalability requirement. Scalability requirement, for an example, 20,000 IP phones are there. Only one CUCM, it's not possible. So then, because one single CUCM, maximum 10,000 IP phones we can be registered. Obviously, we have to go to the 2. If you talk about the 50,000 IP phones, it's not possible one cluster. We have to go with the 2 clusters. Because one single cluster, maximum 40,000 IP phone we can be registered. That is what the scalability requirement. Based on this one, how you want to be connect or communicate, okay, you are going to be design or deploy your models. Got it? Next, we have 3 different deployment models. One is on-premises deployment model. Second one is the cloud deployment model. And third one is the hybrid deployment model. Hybrid means it's a combination of both on-premises and cloud. Okay. On-premises means what? All your server, whatever the server, call manager, Unity connection, IMP server, UCCX, or any server, that server physically placing on the customer location. Customer location. That is called on premises here, this one. Okay. Next, cloud deployment. Cloud means what happened? Now we have only IP phones. IP phones, routers, switches will be having. We don't have any servers like call manager, Unity, we don't have. That's on the cloud. That is the cloud deployment. We have this one. Okay. But in India, it's not possible to go with the cloud deployment because of the TRI rules, because telecom regulations, we can say that one. Because of the telecom regulation, okay, in India, it's not possible to deploy the cloud deployment here. Okay. So you have to go, it's a mandatory on premises, or you can go with the hybrid one. Okay. Why? How exactly? We'll discuss that one. Next with the hybrid one. Hybrid is a combination. Now, for an example, we have office in the US. Okay. Now, US, we can go with the completely cloud. Okay. Now, in India, it's not possible to. So, in that scenario, what we can do, US is the cloud, India is on premises. Now, we are combining this on premises with the cloud. This is called hybrid deployment. Hybrid deployment, it's a combination of on premises and cloud deployment. Means in that deployment, you have the cloud also, you have the on premises also. So in between, you are integrating between on premises to cloud, and you are communicating. For this type of deployment, we call it hybrid deployment. Yeah, you can example few services we have in the collaboration. Example, WebEx. Okay. WebEx, it's a completely cloud service. It's not an on premises service. WebEx, you are using, but not for the calling purpose. In India, we have the WebEx. What that is for internal communication or chatting or host the meeting, that one, not for the calling purpose. Chatting, right? No, I'm talking about both the end. You have WebEx. WebEx, you can make it. There is no issue. From the WebEx to the phone, you cannot dial. The call should not route via PSTN, that one. Again, that also concept we have this one, but the call should be route. That's what some try regulation we have, that one. How exactly that regulations we have, we'll discuss on that. That's depend on the organization, this one. Okay. Suppose you're into banking, but the banking project always they prefer on premises because of security reasons. Okay. And you have some government projects, which is some the database, it's very critical and confidential, that one. They prefer on premises, this one. So that's how depend on your what type of business you have, you can go with on premises or cloud on that one. Small organization, they can go on the cloud. Why? Because they cannot afford for the hardware, software, licensing, troubleshooting, support, and everything. So here, cloud, easily they can go. Okay, cloud, it's very simple. Now in your home there is an internet, right? So that's a you are paying for the service. Monthly, you are paying 500 rupees, 600 rupees, 1000 rupees for the service. This much bandwidth, this much internet, this much speed, you are paying. Similarly, cloud also is one. Cloud, how many IP phones? Okay, 100 IP phones. Okay, what service you require? Call manager, Unity, IMP. Okay, I don't want IMP. I want only call manager, Unity. How much? For the service, you can pay for that one. That's it. Okay, now I want call manager, Unity, IMP also. How much? Now I want call manager, Unity, IMP, UCCX also. How much? Based on the requirement, you can pay for that. Again, Cisco will not support for the AWS or Azure. They have their own clouds. Yes. It's like something you are learning AWS or Azure, you are learning, you want to be deploy the CUCM, it's not possible. You log into the AWS or Azure, okay, any server you can configure. For example, Windows server or Linux server, anything you want to configure, you can configure. Ubuntu, CentOS, this you can configure. You don't have the option to be configure this one. Cisco is not. That's what Cisco something different. So they have their own clouds, or they have some partners. Either you have to get the cloud service, you have to go directly to the Cisco, or you have to go to their partners. Okay, AWS is not possible. Maybe, or maybe they are hosting their own clouds, own data centers. Okay. Okay. But the deployment model we are going to discuss based on the on-premises, not based on the cloud. Cloud, we don't have any deployment model. Cloud means what happened? You have one office or 10 offices. You are getting the services from the cloud. Then there is no concept of the cloud deployment here. This one deployment model comes only for the on-premises here. This one. Okay. On-premises deployment model. Collaboration and unified communication deployment for enterprise have traditionally involved delivering applications and services from within the enterprise network boundary or on premises here. Okay. Now we have different types of deployment model. Again, it's classified into types. Actually, there are 4 types we have. It's missing here in this one. The one is single site deployment model. You have only one office, only one office. You don't have any branch office, site office, nothing. In that office, you are deploying the CUCM infrastructure, means collaboration infrastructure. For that, we got single site deployment model. Got it? You have only one office. You don't have any branch office. You have office only in Bangalore. That's it. All the operations running only in Bangalore. You don't have any branch office or site. Now, you have implemented your collaborate unified infrastructure in Bangalore. For that, we call single site deployment. Okay. Now, internally, you can communicate. Now, you want to communicate to your business partner through PSTN, the call goes. Right? Or any mobile network you want to dial through PSTN, the call goes that one. Single site. That's it. Next, we have multi-site with a centralized call processing. Means now we have the branch offices. Okay. Now we have office here in Bangalore. Bangalore is the headquarter. Singapore, we have the office. That's a branch office. Singapore also we have the IP phones, but that IP phones where it's registering? In Bangalore, it's registering. For this type of deployment, we call multi-site with a centralized call processing. Multi-site, 2 sites we have multi, right? Call processing happening where? Bangalore itself. Why? Because we have placed the CUCM server in Bangalore. Okay. So centralized call processing means call processing happen here in Bangalore. One. Next, multi-site with a distributed call processing. Now we have 2 different clusters. US is one cluster, UK is one cluster. Multi-site with distributed. US separate call processing, UK separate call processing. For this type of deployment, we call it multi-site with a distributed call processing. The final one, clustering over IP WAN. Clustering over IP WAN. What is this clustering over IP WAN means? We have office here in Bangalore. Also, we have office in Spain. Right? We have placed CUCM in Bangalore also. We have placed CUCM in Spain also, but single cluster. But physically, the servers, one server we have placed in Bangalore, one server we have placed in Spain here, this one. It's a single cluster. Okay. For this type of deployment, we call clustering over IP WAN. Okay. Now, why you have to deploy that server in the Spain? There are many reasons this one. Okay. One, because of the, it takes delay. Maybe it will be affect to the voice quality. That is the one reason. And another reason, try rules. Another reason what? Try rules. Suppose any of the companies, any of the organization, you take any company globally, if they have office here in India, it's mandatory they have to place CUCM here locally in India. It's mandatory. You take any, mine is US based company, mine is UK based company, whatever it may be. Suppose you're running business here in India. You have the office here, you have the employees here. Okay, then you are implementing the unified infrastructure. It's mandatory the CUCM server you have to place here in India. That's the reason cloud, it's not possible here in India. We don't have that one. That is what we don't have here. We don't have. In that scenario, you have to go with the hybrid. That is what I'm telling. Suppose US, you can go completely cloud. In India, you have to go with the on-premises. On-premises to cloud, then it's a hybrid here. Okay. Now, we are having the office. US separate cluster we have. UK separate cluster, we have this one, but Bangalore also we have the office. In Bangalore, we have one CUCM server. It's mandatory. When you have users here, IP phones here, and all that phones has to be registered locally. That is what the tri regulation we have here in India, that one. Other countries, we don't have the tri regulation like this one. But in India, we have a tri regulation like this one. Only India. Yes, no, many of the Asia countries, we have the regulations, but not for the CUCM. CUCM, because the call logs, okay, that should be stored locally. Because call logs means all like your dial number, receive number, missed call number. So it will be stored right locally on the server. That should be stored locally here in India. Not VPN data. You are dialing right. Call record, that one. Call logs means call recording, that one. Call history, dial number, received numbers, incoming call, missed call, everything, that data should be stored locally here, this one. That is the regulatory we have this one. So that's the reason we had to place CUCM mandatory here in India. That one. Other countries we don't have, but yes, they have a separate type of regulation, that one. If you talk about Singapore also, we have Dubai, we have Hong Kong, we have Japan, we have this one. Many of the Asia countries, we have a tri-regulation, telecom regulations, we have this one. That is only for the gateway part. Okay, what is that gateway part? Everything we'll discuss later, that one. But for the CUCM, it's not like. For example, now we have the office in Singapore also, Hong Kong also, Japan also. We have not placed the CUCM in all these locations. Only in Bangalore we have placed. Even we have office in Dubai. Okay. So, but all these locations we have a tri regulations. But India is something different. Okay. Huh? Because if you make it like this one, there are many service providers here. Okay, and they have already contract with what happened. The government, they'll be having the contract for these many years, 10 years, 20 years. This one, they have invested a lot of money here. This one, so they don't want to be allow this type of services. Okay, so it's not like a government, that one, which is already. But these are the different deployment models we have. Let's elaborate one by one what exactly single site, multi-site, centralized, distributed, and clustering over IP WAN. Okay, already we have discussed, as we have discussed, single site means only one office. All your CUCM, gateway, whatever it may be, Unity connection, IMP, ACCX, routers, switches, IP phones, you are placing in one location. For that, we call single site deployment model. This is the one. This is my office. Okay. See, I'm having CUCM cluster, monitoring servers we have, other application server we have, media resources for the conferencing, conference devices, IP phones. Can you see this one? Video devices, expressway, gateway, router, switches, firewall, all we have place locally here, this one. And still we have the PS10 connection. Why? We have the business partners. We want to make a call to the business partners. We want to make external calls. Any mobile phone or landline phone or emergency number or fax number I want to dial. So still we require the PSTN. Okay, we'll come back. Okay, PSTN, it's a part of ISDN, that one. Okay, internet, ISP also we have for the internet, this one. That's the single site deployment we have, this one. Okay, see, it's depending, not it's Cisco, it can be anything, that one. The Cisco Unified Communication Services and endpoints are located in the campus, means all the devices in one location. The endpoints and application is considered high available, offering bandwidth in a gigabit range with less than 50 millisecond of latency. Why? Because all the servers, IP phones locally, you get very high bandwidth, right? Okay. Next, communication outside the enterprise goes over the external network such as the PSTN. You want to make external call, the call goes via PSTN. Okay. Maximum, how many IP phones you can be registered? 40,000 IP phones you can be registered. Leave it about other things, virtualization, something. Okay. Maximum 40,000, because in a cluster, maximum 40,000 IP phones we can be registered. Yes. Yes, redundancy we have. In a clustering concept, we have a redundancy that one. You can do it that. So that we'll discuss in the clustering concept. Maximum 2100 gateways you can be configure. To connect from your office to the PSTN, we require one router. Through router only you can communicate to private and public network, right? Okay. So for that routers, if you want to be installed, generally we install only one or two only, or 3, 4 you can be installed. But Cisco is offering how many gateways you can be configure? 2100. That is the capacity maximum. It doesn't mean that one you'll be configuring or installing that many gateways. Okay. Don't go about like, okay, we can configure 2000 gateways. You go to any organization, nobody is going to be installed that many. 2, 3, 4 maximum. Okay. I have seen only 2, 3 only, not more than that also. You go to any organization, any deployment, that one. So that's the gateways you can be. High bandwidth audio is available. Why? Because locally we have very good bandwidth. We have this one. High bandwidth codec is required. What is this codec? We'll discuss. There is a separate session on this codec. Why? Because when you are communicating with an IP phone, both the end, source and destination, calling and call party, it should be have the same codec. And codec is mandatory. Without codec, it's not possible to communicate that one. What is that codec? How many types of codecs we have? That will be discussed later, that one. Okay. High bandwidth video also. Okay. High bandwidth audio calls, how high bandwidth video calls we can make it on this one. So that's about the single site deployment model. Clear? Any doubts, any questions on the single site deployment model? Next is the multi-site with a centralized call processing. Multi-site with means now you have office in Bangalore also, Singapore also. Now Singapore, we have very less IP phones. For that, not required to install one CUCM. That Singapore office IP phone also can be registered under the Bangalore here. For this type of deployment, we can say multi-site with a centralized call processing. And this is the very famous deployment model. You take any company or any organization, they will not go with the one deployment model. Remember this one. They will not go with only one deployment model. They go with a combination. They go with a combination. How exactly they go with a combination? I have the US region. Okay. So in Boston, I'm having office. The Boston is my headquarter. Example. Then I have office in Chicago. Then I have office in Madison. Then I have office in New York. Okay. See, Boston is the headquarter. Chicago, Madison, New York also we have the IP phones. All these IP phones, it will be registering under Boston. Now, what type of deployment model is this? Multi-site with a centralized call processing. We have multi-site, right? Where is a single site? Multi-site with a centralized call processing. Because in Chicago, Madison, New York, we are not installing any CUCM. CUCM is installed on Boston. This is the one thing. Now I'll come to the UK one. Okay. Now I have Sweden is the headquarter here for the UK. Barcelona, I'm having an office. That's the Spain. Munich, we have an office. That's in Germany. Okay. Winners, that's in UK. We have an office. Okay. Now we have placed the CUCM here in the Sweden. But Barcelona, Munich, and Winners also we have the IP phones. All these IP phones are registered under Sweden. What type of deployment is this? Multi-site with a centralized call processing. Okay. Now you want to communicate from Winners to New York. It's a single. See, regions are different, but it's a single company, right? Now you want to communicate. There is one user here in Winners want to dial to the in New York. How the communication happens? From here, it goes to Sweden CUCM. From the Sweden CUCM, it connects to the Boston. From the Boston, it will be connecting to the New York, this one. This is how communication happens. Now, if you are communicating like this, Then it's called multi-site with a distributed call processing. See, this is the one separate call processing and this is separate call processing. Two different call processing clusters we have. For UK, we have one cluster, US one cluster we have. To communicate between UK to US, you can integrate that one. For this type of deployment, we call multi-site with a distributed, not centralized, distributed call processing. That's what. Every organization, they will not go with one single deployment. They go with the combination here. Okay, see, within US, we have a multi-site with a centralized. US to UK, we have distributed. Within UK, again, we have centralized call processing. Got it? Clear this one? Every organization, okay, you take any organization, if they have the business globally, if they have the offices globally, okay, always they design like this. They go with the combination, centralized also, distributed also, and also clustering over IP1. Suppose if they have office here in India, Bangalore, consider Bangalore also, it's under Sweden only. But here, whatever the IP phones you have, it has to be registered in local CUCM because of TRI rules. Not only Bangalore, entire India. You have an office in Pune, or you have office in Noida, or you have office in Chennai, Hyderabad, anywhere it can be. Okay, you have to place locally server. Suppose you have multiple office in India. It's not required that one in every office you have to place. Any one office you can place. Now we have office here in Mumbai. We have Vadodara. We have then Bangalore. We have this one, but we have placed the server in Bangalore. Got it? So that's how. Now what happened? Now, can you tell me this one? There are three deployment models we have here. Centralized deployment we have, distributed we have, clustering over IP WAN. Clustering over IP WAN means few servers you are placing in one location, another few servers you are placing in another location. See, the one CUCM I'm having here in the Sweden, another CUCM I'm having in the Bangalore. This is called clustering over IP WAN. It will be communicated over IP WAN. WAN means what? Internet. Got it? This is how the deployment. Always every organization, they go with the example I have given that one. Not Spain is not meant. Spain you can place anywhere that one. Example I have given. Suppose if there is a more distance you have, you more latency it's taking. In that scenario, you can place one local server there. Sweden means physically on it's a completely all this deployment related to on-prem only. There is no cloud here. Okay. Next, this is what. So this is my headquarter. This is my branch office. Headquarter we have all like CUCM application, everything. But branch office also we have IP phones, video phones, mobile, Jabber, everything we have this one. But these phones also registered under the headquarter. Always they connect with the IP WAN through internet. IP WAN means what? Through the internet we can communicate here, this one. When you have this type of deployment, some extra features you have to configure. You have to configure what? Extra features. What is that extra features? For an example, always you will be communicating from the headquarter to branch office over the IP WAN, right? Suppose if the WAN goes down, always this phone, it will be communicating over the WAN. I don't know why it's not writing. It will be communicating. Suppose if this WAN goes down, then how he can able to make the calls? And this phone also registered where? Under the CUCM. Always it will be registering through the internet only. Through the WAN only it will be registering. Suppose if this WAN is down, then is it possible to make the call? You have to understand one thing. Yes, we have a PSTN as a backup. Before to that, phone has to be registered, right? If the phone is registered, then only you can make the call. Where earlier we have registered the phone. CUCM we have registered the phone. Now where phone going to be registered? Because it's not possible to register. There is no connection between the phone to the call manager because the WAN is down. Always it will be registering over the WAN itself. Now Yes, PSTN we have the backup through the PSTN we can make the call. But before you make the call, it has to be registered. Where it's going to be registered? We don't have any server, right? Server, it's in completely headquarter. How you can connect? Already internet is down. To connect to the secondary also, the territory also, whatever it may be, that one, it has to be go via internet. Now the WAN link is down. In this scenario, we have a feature called SRST. We have a feature called what? SRST, Survivable Remote Site Telephony. Survivable Remote Site Telephony. That means every location we have the gateway right here. Can you see this one? This is the gateway we have. This is the router. Automatically, these phones will be registered under this router in SRST mode. Whenever, if the phone's unable to reach the call manager due to some reason, maybe CUCM is down or the WAN is down or whatever the reason, this one, automatically all the branch office phones, it's going to be registered under the local gateway. For that, we call SRST, Survivable Remote Site Telephony. By default, it will not register. We have to configure it. We have to configure this SRST feature. Got it? So that is the one thing. So whenever you have a deployment, this extra features you have to be configured, mandatory that one, SRST feature. Clear? Now what happened? Now phones are registered locally here. Now you can be route the call via PSTN. Whether you want to connect to the headquarter or any other party or business partners, any mobile network, anywhere you want to connect, the call will be routed via PSTN. Okay, for that we require the SRST. Clear? And another thing, when you have this type of deployment model, all the traffic flows from the headquarter to branch office via WAN, right? Okay. But we have very less bandwidth. Means through the internet, you are carrying the data traffic also, voice traffic also, video traffic also, every traffic when you are carrying, you have very less bandwidth. So in that scenario, to manage the bandwidth, there are other features you can be called, configure that one. Okay. CAC, Client Admission Control. That means you can be limit the calls. You can limit whenever to make a call from headquarter to branch office, you can limit that one, how many calls you can make, concurrent calls. You can limit only 5 calls. Means if the 6th call is coming, it's not possible to dial. Yeah, any one call gets disconnect, then the 6th call can be route that one. So that is how you can be deploy for the call admission control. This is we are deploying for the bandwidth management. Okay. Now we have a, suppose if you have configured the bandwidth management, okay, 5 calls I have configured. All the 5 calls are busy. They are concurrently communicating. There are 6th user is coming to make a call. When the 6th user is coming, it will not allow to make the call. But still in this scenario, it's very urgent. You want to be make a call. You can configure another feature called AAR, Alternate Automate Routing. Okay. That means if there is no enough bandwidth, automatically call has to be routed via PSTN. So you have already defined the 5 calls, you can concurrent calls, you can make it out. 6th user is coming, 6th call is coming. If there is no enough bandwidth to make the call, automatically call will be routed via PSTN. For this AAR, Alternate Automated Routing. This feature also, if you want to, you can configure that one. SRST, CAC, Call Admission Control, AAR. And this CAC AAR, it's a concept of bandwidth management. Got it? So this is how different features you want to be configured, you can be configured. Again, similarly here also 40,000 IP phones, even you take 100 site office, but CUCM cluster is only one single cluster you have, right? So 40,000 and 2,100 gateways you can be configured. See, that is what the see in IT infrastructure how it comes. First, designing part comes. Okay, how the designing part done based on the requirement. Suppose what is my requirement? The concurrent calls I want, how many I want to be make it out, how many users are there. Based on that, they are going to design. It's not like that one. So only today we have configured for five, and tomorrow it's not like that. So already they go to the customer, right? The customer they'll take the requirement first. Okay, how many users in the branch office, how many users in the headquarter, total how many users are there. Suppose you have this type of deployment, how much bandwidth you have the internet, that one. Based on that, you are going to design whether we want to configure call admission control or AAR. Suppose very good bandwidth you have, then not required to configure CAC. Where you have very less bandwidth, then only you have to configure CAC. If you have applied CAC, then only you have to configure AAR. There is no CAC, then not required to configure AAR also this one. That's how based on the requirement. Clear? Okay. So that's how the multi-site with the centralized call processing model works. So this one. Headquarter branch office IP WAN goes down, automatically call will be routed to a PSTN. But before to that one, the branch office IP phones will be get registered under the local gateway in a SRST mode. Same thing. Okay, I'm just skipping this one. Only some bullet points you have this one. See, that's what remote site server survivability is required. Why? Because if the WAN goes down, even all the phones goes down. Next, distributed call processing. Distributed means what happened? UK separate, US separate. Then you can go with the distributed here. Now here, every cluster, 40,000 IP phones. Two cluster you have, then how many IP phones? 80,000 IP phones. Two clusters are there, maximum how many gateways we can be configure? 4,200. One single cluster, 2,100 to 4,000. Like similarly, you can be configure that one. That's what distributed call processing. Okay, some bullet points are there. Minimum how much bandwidth, internet speed, delay we required when you are communicating. That's you have this one. Next, clustering or IP WAN. Clustering or IP WAN means the best example, India. You have cluster in UK, but you have office here in Bangalore also. Then all the CUCM server you have placed in the UK, but one CUCM server you have to place in India also, because all the call history it has to store locally. For this, we can call it clustering over IP WAN. Means CUCM server we are placing. Suppose it's not. If you want to place locally, every location you can place. For example, uh, one is in headquarter, another is in another branch office, another branch office. Like you want to place every location you can place, but generally we are not going to place like this one. Okay, so only when we have office in India and which is comes under the different cluster like UK or US cluster. In that scenario, we place the server locally here in Bangalore. For this type of deployment, we call clustering over IP WAN. So these are the deployment models we have: single site, multi-site with a centralized, multi-site with a distributed, clustering over IP WAN. Generally, we wherever the data center is there, the headquarter only we configure the data center side. Oh, not CPU, CUCM. Okay. Yeah, you can place it. Yeah, you don't. So you want to make it Bangalore is the headquarter, complete cluster here you want. Generally, what happens this one, whenever if any office is, if they consider as headquarter, all the CEO, the top leaders, and all the officers, everything they deploy there itself. More security, more people, more infrastructure. This is how the concept we get. Now, for example, Indian capital is Delhi. Okay. Is it possible the complete no, prime minister and ministers, is it possible to they come and Bangalore and to sit here and rule here? It will not happen, right? Yes, if they want, you can come this one. When there is in a capital, lot of infrastructure, lot of things will be there. Administration purpose. If you want, yes, if they want to come here and they want to do, it happens. Yes, it happens in cricket actually. Okay. The Indian that cricket main board earlier it was in Kolkata. Okay. You know why it was in Kolkata? Okay. That's what the clustering over IP WAN. Next we have, okay, same points we have, same registration, IP phone, everything, gateways, concept, everything is same. SME concept we have, session management edition. Okay. This is what exactly, suppose you have CUCM cluster, then you have third party cluster. Third party means it's not a Cisco. CUCM, it's a product of Cisco. Third party you have, example, Avaya you have, or Alcatel Lucent you have, Mitel you have. These are the other vendors who exist in the market. They are the competitors for the Cisco. Okay. In between this, you want to communicate. Okay. From Avaya to Avaya, Cisco, Mitel, Alcatel Lucent. Between this, you want to communicate. So then in between, you can keep one server that is called SME server. Okay. Session Management Edition server. And you can integrate Call Manager, Avaya, Alcatel Lucent, Mitel. Still, you can able to be communicate this one. For this, we can call SME server this one. Only I can say very few organization they have this type of deployment model. Generally, every organization they will not go with this deployment model. Very few organization. I can say the Vodafone also they have their own application. Like how CUCM, it's a product of Cisco. Vodafone also they have their own application. Okay, they are selling in the market to the different customers and everything. So the call comes and hitting to the Vodafone application first, but backend they have Cisco. The front end, it looks like it's a Vodafone application, but actually the backend they have the Cisco that one. Now to communicate between this Vodafone application and CUCM, Cisco, in between SME they have Session Management Edition. That's how very few organization they have, and again this SME is the Cisco product. Okay. Uh, Earlier we were having one concept of gatekeeper. Okay, gatekeeper, that's a router, centralized. All the branch officers, multiple location, they can be route the call via this centralized device. Okay. Now, SME is the replacement of that gatekeeper. But now earlier the gatekeeper, it supports only the Cisco. Now the SME support every services, every third party service it can be support. Okay. See, this is the SME cluster, campus office, different cluster we have. CUCM, third party we have. Still we can able to be communicate with that one. Okay, some points we have about VPN based enterprise as access. VPN based means now the work from home concept we have, right? If you are within the office, what happens this one, you can connect locally to your servers. When you are logging from the home, that's a different network. Your company's network is different. Your home network is different. How you are accessing all the infrastructure through the internet you are accessing. When you are accessing through the internet, there is no security. Why? Because in the internet, attackers are there. For technically, it's called attackers, not hackers. Okay. In general word, we call hacker, but it's called attackers. They can attack to my network. They can capture my information, data, everything, right? So that's the reason for secure communication, we use VPN, virtual private network. So first we are connecting with the VPN. Once you connect the VPN, so it's like a tunnel it will create. Means encrypted data. So first of all, nobody comes to know that one, the traffic is flowing. If someone comes to know about the traffic also, okay, it's not possible to decrypt that one. That's how more security it provides. It's like, secret road you have. There is a normal road. So in the basement, there is a secret road, that one. So nobody comes to know that one. That's like a VPN network. So suppose you want to communicate over the VPN. See, this is my headquarters. See, in the coffee shop, this means remote user, home office, we have the phones. This phones also has to be connected to my organization. Through the VPN, it can be connected. For that, it's called VPN-based enterprise access. But now we are not using the VPN base. Earlier, we were having the VPN base. Now, expressway server we are using. You remember expressway C and E? That is the VPN-less communication, that one. So, yes, if you have a VPN, through VPN, you can connect. If you don't have the VPN, now we are using what? Expressway, separate servers we are using. Which one? Yeah, you can use both. Okay. Cloud and hybrid deployment. Cloud means completely cloud. Okay. In your office, only IP phones will be there, switch will be there, router will be there. That's it. Gateway, IP phone, switch will be there. No servers. But these phones will be registered on the cloud. Okay. That is the cloud. Hybrid means what? You have both combination here. Example, now IP phone, router, switcher, CUCM, Unity connection, voicemail, everything we have. Now WebEx also we require. Now WebEx, it's a completely cloud service. Okay. Now the companies they are using, they have their own infrastructure. Also, they want to use the WebEx. Now it's a combination of both on-premises and cloud here, this one. For that, we can call it hybrid deployment model. This is what. So this is my organization. We have all the infrastructure. But Cisco WebEx and Cisco Spark, this is the cloud services we are purchasing and we are using that one. For this, we can call it hybrid deployment model. Clear? So this is about the different types of deployment model. Got it? What is this deployment model? Why they are deploying? How many types of deployment model they have this one? Any questions, any doubts before we wind up?